Need an intro video. Okay, so I have Maura back. Maura and me are together going to talk about difficult partners and people and how to like tactics and what that even looks like. Because sometimes I think people still, there's like one, do you think you're in something and maybe it feels normal, but it's not normal. So there's that. But it's like often in our two practices, and I'll let Maura kind of just give a background, but she niches out into toxic relationships and I'm niched out into women's health. And in our two practices, the overwhelming thing that is usually on the table is that, well, my difficult partner does XYZ, so therefore I can't do XYZ, right? And so it's like, okay, how do you cope? And maybe more about the excuse, like, you know, if you share kids with a person, that's a big one. Like that's my whole forte. So I'm going to read you guys an excerpt of my text messages, but I'll give you a real treat. Just in case anyone's questioning if people are actually difficult, and I will tell you they are. But the deal is that, you know, when you have a difficult partner or person, the only strategy is to disconnect. And you don't have to do that by completely cutting them off necessarily, but you have to do it in a way that, like, it's like I tell my clients two things. I'm like, first, you have to disconnect so you can get the clarity on like what you actually feel, want, what the truth is, like all of that. Then once you have that, you have to have either, like, at some point, if you are going to have a relationship with that person or have to deal with that person, let's say a choice would be a marriage, like have to deal with it would be a custody agreement or like whatever, sharing kids or, you
family.
know, yeah, family, right. It could be
Kids.
totally. Then there's going to be some sort of a reproach, right? Like there's not always not an opportunity to be around that person. So, I mean, but the timeline on that can be long. Like you know, I mean, I always say I never prepared to cut contact with my mom, or really it was just like today's the day in the McDonald's parking lot, and then we just haven't spoken for 9 years. But there was not a, like, I'm never speaking to you again, because I had already done the work on making those kind of pacts, and I was really open to having the flow of God in my life already when I made the choice. And so we ended up I sort of said to her, okay, when this shifts for you, or when you want to go to counseling, or when you want to stop talking to my ex-husband, like, let's chat, let's reapproach the situation. And here we are 9 years later, and none of that has changed. So it's like, all right, well, until these things change, we're not going to have that relationship. And I think in some situations you have that, similar to in a marriage. If you can define your needs and they're not being met, like the natural thing is an end game, you know, like I just had that conversation with my own husband, because I think every marriage that is like long gets to those points, right? You're like, okay, here we are. We've had a growth opportunity, or we've hit something, or we've had a challenge or crisis or whatever, you know, an epi crisis. We've had an opportunity, and people can either lean in or they get out. And that's the unfortunate that's the real reality of us as bioelectrical beings, I think, is depending on our influences and what we want and what we're around. If you can get to that place of neutral where you can imagine a world where it does go both ways, that's really the best place to be in. Like, that's a very uninterrupted place. And so, but to get there with a difficult person, like a narcissist or a narcissistic ex, while all the chaos is going on, is absolutely insane. So
I would expand it almost to an immature person too, because sometimes you'll see like kids do this, especially if they've seen that dynamic, you know, like sometimes that seems to be, and I'm not like citing any kind of studies, but I just notice a pattern within my clients and within the people that are around me that have, like, one of the kids, or not the kids, are going through some kind of emotional manipulation by one of the parents. And they, like, the first thing that you start to see is that arguing. And like, it's it's a very interesting energy because it's not an arguing to stand up for yourself. It's not an arguing to like come out of a place where you've silenced yourself. It's an argue just to argue.
Yeah.
Like to assert dominance, or to just get that energy. Like I think in the case of the really toxic ones, it's like a loosh. They want your energy. It doesn't matter that it's like negative. They just want to pull that out of you because they still have a control.
Right. And a lot of times there's some clear-cut tactics that you can use to, I mean, one of the things is you don't need to put yourself in the conversation or in the argument unless you want to. Like, I mean, I always tell people, like, so for example, I mean, okay, let's just define what an argument looks like, because here's, I think a lot of people don't realize this. It's like, a lot of people, it's like you envision the argument of a difficult person. So a difficult person is always arguing. Like, in my opinion, a difficult person is just in opposition no matter what. Like, they're in the place where they're either defensive from a childhood wounding, or if you try to bring into anything to them, they're instantly wanting to like either exit or become defensive or blow up. Like, I mean, I've been there. Like, I guess one of my strategies when I wasn't very like healed or into other people or seeing their perspective was always like, if I would just get really, really mad and ragey, like eventually what the chaos was going on would like shut down for a little bit. Like, if I could just like yell at my kids and like yell at everybody, like eventually everybody would just scatter and go their own ways. Right. And it was like, all right, cool. We've got a bit of a break, instead of being able to say, I need XYZ. Like, I need space. I need a schedule. I need structure. Like, I need you all to do this in my life. Like, and instead of being able to healthily just define that or to like walk away. So interesting though, is like with truly toxic people, like people who are operating in dysfunction, one of the things I realized is they're so insecure. Like, they're insecure. So if you're presenting something that is better, and better is like a hard thing to face, because I mean, a lot of people have better ideas than me all the time, and I just take them and use them and implement. Like, I love that now. But if you're insecure, you're always in this like gnawing, like I'm not good enough vibration. This like comparison is the thief of joy. Like, so your instant reaction is like an argument, or just to be like, shut it down, or to deny. I just had this chat with my daughter, and she's like, she has this sort of knee jerk deniability. It's like you could be like, hey,
that when they come right out, you're like, okay,
everything. Like, I'm like, just getting out the door for school this morning. She was like, I'm up. I was like, define up. You're still laying in bed. Like, you're awake, but you're on your phone. So our two definitions are like not aligned. And she was like, I'm up. Like, you're such a bitch. I'm like, you're not up. Like, up and ready is different than awake and laying in your bed scrolling, right? Like, I'm like, but in her mind, she's like, I'm for real awake, so I'm doing the right thing. And I'm like, well, okay. So like, I told her, I was like, up in this house, like up and ready to go to school means your water bottle's full, your breakfast is ready, you're in my car at the time. You know what I mean? It's not like, okay, you're just awake at the time, and then 20 minutes later we're late because you're still getting ready. It's like, but just like her instant, she'll be like, but I did get up on time. I'm like, no, you did not. It's like, but what's interesting is there's like two truths. But yeah, I mean, oh man, difficult people, like the number one mark of somebody who's really toxic is they won't answer a straight question because they can't keep all the lies straight in their mind. So they don't want to answer a straight question, because in a world where you're working in a fixed reality and they're in a non-fixed reality, basically what'll happen is that he would, like, basically what would happen is that he would, or a person would, they'll create a new reality, right? Or they'll try to get out of that reality. And it's like, it's the weirdest thing to try to deal with. You're like, ugh.
Yeah. Well, something that came up with somebody recently was, it wasn't even somebody directly connected to her, but that fragility, that kind of like insecurity that you were talking about was coming out in this dynamic that was affecting somebody close to her. And, she actually started to engage in an argument with him. And then, you know, when we started talking about it, I was like, this person was obviously saying something very dysfunctional. You just let them talk rather than to enter into an argument with them. I've heard some people say, if you argue, you've already lost, because you are trying to get somebody who has either a distorted version of reality or just such a radical different viewpoint that they are attached to and will not change. And maybe you have some of that too. And maybe either one of those, not necessarily bad. Like, I am attached to the notion that murder is bad. Like, if that's, you're not going to change my mind on that. So right. I'm not saying it's always bad to be attached to your beliefs, but to argue with that, like, is just a waste of breath. It's a waste of time. It's a waste of your nervous system regulation. Like, get you all worked up, get you, and in a sense, they've won, because they have these really extreme viewpoints, in part to serve their need for chaos, their need for stress, their need to be relevant and important. And if you can really filter it through, like, do I need to argue with this person? Do I need to set them straight? Like, sometimes that's a control issue that we have to think about on our end. Like, do I trying to have control or influence, or, you know, there can be healing that's needed to be done, that's like pushing that forward. But when you can stop and be like, I can just let this person talk and let everybody else see what an idiot they are. Like, let everybody else decide what they want. But at the end of the day, they're telling you who and what they already are. And then you just, instead of trying to change it or convince them to do something else, which would be the argument, you just do what's right with yourself, which is a lot of times exiting the scene, exiting the conversation, exiting the relationship if you can. And it's just so much.
No, go ahead. I interrupted you.
Oh, no, I was just saying that was pretty much the end of my thought. It's not always possible, like with kids or with an ex, but even like you always say, one argument at a time. Like, can I just exit this argument? Like, or not? Like, sometimes you'll be in the mood where you can. Sometimes you're in the mood where you can't, or it's a lot harder.
Yeah. After having parented with a person who has delusional reality, who is for sure a narcissist. And okay, I'll define that. I do not go around calling everybody who's selfish a narcissist. I am not going to diagnose narcissistic personality disorder. That's a whole nother thing. There's nuance to narcissism. You can be working in narcissism in like one area in your life. Like if you're, you know, whatever, but like there is a spirit of narcissism. And so we see narcissism in the Bible. We basically see narcissism as Satan. So whatever it is, it's like just chaos, right? It's just all about like image, saving face, chaos. And so the one thing that is like interesting is that like the person that I happen to be parenting with, you know, he will just build a reality that you can do nothing about. So like whatever, he has a reality about me based in fiction. Like we haven't spoken. We don't run in the same circles. We don't do anything besides share our kids in actually over a decade. And so he has these, I mean, but if you ask him, he's like, oh yeah, like this is what she does for a job. And this is what she does. Like he's happy to tell everybody all over town, but like have no context whatsoever. And then it's all about saving face and having control. So the only way to like not be controlled is to not be controlled. Like, and so I realized I'm controlled when I am trying to defend myself or even giving two shits about what he thinks of me as a mom. Like I could sit here and probably be shooting up heroin and still not give a shit because I'm just like, that's what you need to do. That's the level which you need to get. Like you need to be
clarify that. What do you mean?
No, I'm sorry. You don't need to be doing heroin. You need to be at the level to where your choices, you don't run by that person. Right. Like I'm not saying you're a drug addict. I'm saying that, which I don't do heroin. I'm saying that like, I don't even take medication. I'm saying that you need to get to this level because you're always going to be judged. You're always going to be condemned. There's always going to be something. And if you do finally get ungaslit and know the truth and you see what's going on and you point it out, like chaos is going to ramp up. So you got to be prepared to hold your own. Right. So it's like, And if you've got kids in it, the craziest part is that you have to have this duality of like knowing a solid truth to anchor into, right?
Mhm.
Like, so
Yeah.
what's real crazy is like a solid truth would be for me. And if you're, and it's like, you need to find this place where you know what the truth is. Like, I feel like a
Mhm.
lot of people who stay in toxic relationships or they can't get over them or whatever, it's because they haven't found the actual truth. Like, the truth is that you're not going to be perfect. You're going to fail. You're just going to make choices. We have a unique system of grace and forgiveness here on this planet. Like, it's just interesting how, like, you can't let the opinions of someone else just define what you do day to day, right?
Yeah.
Like, so
Yeah.
one of the things, and a tactic for combating that I have used in my own life is, one, I just laugh and find it fascinating when people say something about me. And people are like, how do you even do that? And I'm like, it's not possible unless you know the truth. Like, before, when I
Yeah.
wasn't convinced that I was a good mother, I wasn't able to do that. Like, now
Yes.
I'm like, now that I know how God works and I know that I'm operating the best I can, and I'm like, I've got a good community around me, like, I can do that. Like, I can. So I think that's like the first thing that people need to find,
Yeah.
they need to, they're focusing so much. I told my husband this over the weekend about an incident that was between us. We're focusing so much on the symptom, like, I'm mad, I'm angry, my body's failing, like the symptom, and we're not looking at the root cause. Like, it's like,
Yeah.
we were just talking about this in response to our child who's having a moment. It's like, we're so focused on the behavior. Oh, if we can just do this, this, and this and correct the behavior. And I'm like, we can still focus on the behavior, but put most of our focus on the root cause. Like, it's not
Yeah.
going to constantly just talk about the behavior. And that was one of the things that I had this problem with. It was like, because you're just trauma looping. You know what
Yeah. Well, to that point, like, I mean, 2 points. Number one, you will never win in an argument if you have a fixed truth against somebody who has a fluid truth. Like,
No.
and their truth is always whatever serves them. Like, you and I both watched like this reel of this interview with this expert on
Yes.
narcissism, and he had such a good like point that like some people don't even know they're lying, or whatever is the truth is what serves them in the moment. But for
Yeah.
most of us, the truth is like what two people could have agreed on happened at the same time. There's also a component of the truth is like, sometimes the truth, when people say your truth, we can make fun of that as a phrase. But I think where it kind of does work, where you can be like, well, the truth was that I was feeling this way or thinking this and I didn't say it. So that was my job. And when I say it's my truth, it was my responsibility actually
Yeah.
to use words, and I didn't do that. So sometimes you can almost look at the things that are getting you the most about what this person's trying to argue about or what this person is saying about you, and check in. Like, I think that I'm a bad mother? Do I think this? Do I think that? And like, if you can fill up your own evidence with like, oh wait, no, actually I don't. And like, this guy over here is totally working in a different
This guy.
universe, a different reality, or gal or whatever.
Yes.
Sometimes it becomes really, really easy. Like, one of my clients had, their ex was trying to fill the kids up with this notion that she didn't feed them. And it's like doing all this stuff. And I was like, well, is your fridge full of food? Is there food in your fridge? She's like, I couldn't put the eggs in it this morning. There's so much food in there. I'm like, so when they come, or he does his thing, you'd be like laughing, like, I couldn't even put the eggs in this morning. Like,
Yeah.
you anchor them in the truth, in the reality that like all of you can open that fridge and see how full it is. And well, clearly there's food here. Clearly we're getting fed. Did I prepare you a meal? Yeah.
Yes.
That's such an obvious lie. Some of them get a little screwier, like a little harder to pin down. They're not as concrete, but that again comes within yourself. Like, am I a good mother? Like, if you feel like you're not, there's something in there that needs to be healed or worked on. And in that way, that slander can almost serve you. You can turn it into something that, instead of arguing against it, you're like, oh, okay, let me go work on this with myself. And then you go fuck off.
Yes. Yeah, for sure. I mean, just the argument, the way that difficult people want to argue is mind blowing. So the case for not arguing that I think a lot of people don't want to hear is like, it steals your energy, it steals you. Like, okay, so just right now while we're on this podcast, like, my ex is trying to argue with me. That's like a true I just got a text from my kid's school, and my kid's school's like, hey, like, you know, your son says he doesn't have his Chromebook. This is a true story. And like, my ex is like, because he has so much gallbladder rage and he's messed up, like, she literally texted me and said, do you have the binder? And then I'm like, I don't know, but I'll ask dad, do you have the binder? He literally texted me a text message from 3 weeks ago that says, doesn't respond. So I said, do you have Ren's binder? He says, let's start here. You're claiming that I'm violent and a liar. Please provide an example of this. So now we have a starting point. That has nothing to do with the question.
With a binder. No. Do you have a binder? I'm just looking for the binder.
I know. I'm like, and what? Like, okay. So like, no, you don't respond to that kind of stuff. Like you don't, but you don't respond. You don't be like, well, I asked you about a binder, or you don't be like, you know, this motherfucker. Like you just can't care. It's so comical. Like it's like I literally like sent like because I like the truth speaks for itself. Like I sent like I literally just screenshotted it and sent it to the teacher. I was like, I don't know where the Chromebook is, and this is dad. So like when you get to that place of don't give a fuck, your life's gonna change. Like
it is.
And I know because I was that woman. I was like, oh, I want to protect my kids, and oh, I want to do this. And in a weird way, I was like, oh, that's mean to like my ex, you know. And now I'm like, hey, his little fragile, you used a really good word earlier when we were talking, like his little fragile image that he built is like cool. If it comes crumbling down, like I don't care. I didn't even have a part in it. You know what I mean? Like had nothing to do with me. Right. I think sometimes we're so like emotionally strung out, like, and you can stop an argument with somebody by just like, you know, it's like you can throw gas on the fire. I have done that before. Or you can just turn your phone off. You know what I mean? Like you actually, the whole point is knowing you have choices, right? Like, and then taking responsibility that you make choices. Like, and even if that person's creating all this chaos, like if you stay in honor, like if you stay in truth, if you don't participate, if you stay in the forgiveness, like then what'll happen is the exposure has to happen. There's no way that light doesn't freaking come and expose darkness. It's always the case. When it doesn't get exposed is when you're participating because you're in the way of the fluidity and the exposure. Like you're in the way. That's what I had to realize in my life. I was like, oh my God, if I don't answer this question, what happens to the kids? If I don't answer this, what happens here? Like if I don't control all the little pieces and stay in the battle, like, and the key word being control. Yeah. But all that was happening to me was like, I was getting stressed out. My hair was falling out. And like, I had migraines 24/7 because migraines are all about control. Like it was just never ending. It never stopped. And so I'm like, he's the well one and I'm the sick one. Like, this doesn't make any sense. Right. Like, so.
Because you're healing and he's not, you know, he's still like, if he were to ever click in, it'd probably kill him. Honestly, I'm not even being like,
I'll flick this into his email. We don't delete this because now it's gonna be like a report. Like I'm joking. like I'm seriously.
We couldn't force a healing anyway. Like it's not a medication. It's an emotional like choice to awaken to something like that. And
yes, it's funny. This is coming from someone who literally said to an actual judge that I somehow through vibrations got into his wife to diagnose her for whatever, for dehydration, which is so hysterical. Right. And what we were talking about was muscle testing. So it's like that's what I mean. The delusions, right? Like just like the delusions are insane. And all you can do is stand by as like a casual bystander. Like if somebody here wants, like, you know, I always tell people, I'm like, if you can't pull yourself out of the fight, unfortunately it's a you problem. Like I mean, I'm guilty of it. Like, and you know, even on some things with my own husband, like I'm like, if you've formed a homeostasis and a connection around the fight, it's really hard to get out of. Like, it's really tough to exit. But if you want like real freedom, like I love how like some of your clients and most of your clients come into the space where they're like a more observer, right? A casual observer instead of this like participant that's under the stress of it all, you know? Like, that's what I am. You just step back. I'm like, oh, like all that is almost like happening over there and I'm over here. And there's some stuff that comes with that. Like, I think that's like presents a little bit of things like, you know, weight and other things that you have to work on with yourself. But it is so interesting. Like, I'm like, you're at that point, your biofield is at least not connected to the chaos. It's like you're not tuning in to seek it out, you know?
Well, kind of to what you were just saying about like if your homeostasis is this arguing, if you do get a moment of peace, you will miss it. You'll miss it, or you'll inflict something on it. Like I've seen people do something that was, you know, the one hot second when somebody just did something nice out of character, and like the receiver, like my person that I was working with, was like, what is this? Some kind of mind game? You know, like they almost thought that, like, I'm like, no, that's just a nice text, whether it was actually intended to be nice or not. There's just no chaos unless you make it. And so let's get you comfortable with not making chaos, like not making a story out of like, oh, that's a mind game. It's like, no, that was maybe a nice or neutral gesture. Like,
yeah.
Right.
At which point, if it is a mind game and you're like on the up and up, you'll know, like you'll figure it out, right? Like it's like
only a mind game if you agree to it. Like if you play the game, then it's going to be a game.
For sure. Like, I mean,
needs two players.
That's almost like emotional hypervigilance or something. Like, I'm like, I mean, you know, right? Like, it's like, we can't, I mean, it's like, what a stressful way to live, to go through your life and be like looking for the strategy. Like, I think that all the time about people who constantly have to argue, like, the strategy of like how I'm going to avoid or how I'm going to do this. Like, I mean, I promise people, if they just get into like the flow state where they're open to like praying and asking God to show them like what they need to see, and they can convict themselves that actually will happen for them, then they're a lot happier. Like I am a lot happier like that. Like I'm like, but in order to do that, you do have to have control of your thoughts, and you have to be pretty radically living in the present. Like you've got to be okay with lots of other unknown. Like for me, you've got to be okay with like, I don't know, I call it like the slow burn of the bigger picture. You know what I mean? It's like, so, I mean, especially just using the example of like how I've practiced this in my own life with my kids. Like my kids are in like these two worlds and they're always against each other. And it's just so tough. But we're not like actually in the against anymore. We're just like, this is our way, and we don't actually care about the other way. It's like of no relevance to us. Like we're completely neutral. Like, and it's so radically different from ours, like so different that unfortunately, when that's the case, usually you can't force your kids to, or you shouldn't, which is what the toxic person's big mistake has been. You really have to let your kids decide where they like it best. Like, I mean, I texted, you know, my ex the other day, and I was like, if you like, he's like, oh, you're going to tell me what you think? And I was like, well, since you opened the invitation, if you were being such an amazing parent, the kids would probably want to hang out with you.
Yeah.
Like, it's real cut and dry. You know what I mean?
Really
like, real cut and dry. I was like, I mean, if I'm the bad one, I don't know why they're coming over here to live. Like, right? Like, it's like, if I'm the terrible one, and then it's like, oh, they get in your possession for a few days and suddenly I'm the terrible one. Like, that doesn't make any sense. Like, no, like, it's like, that's delusional. But it's so interesting. And it's like, you know, I mean, he didn't receive that. But I'm like, that's the thing. You have to be in reality, right? Like reality.
Yes. And sometimes those realities are a little bit hard to look at. And sometimes in those cases, like when you're dealing with kids who are coming into their own mind and coming into their own maturity, it's not always one or the other. They're still trying to figure this out between two people that they care about a lot. So like times when your kids didn't stay with you, like it wasn't really actually about you. It was about the manipulation that was going on behind the scenes. Like grand scheme, both homes are happy and healthy. They're happy to go back and forth. You know what I mean? Do you kind of get what I'm saying?
You know what? Sometimes it is me. Like that's the weird part. I think a lot of people who stay in bitterness and resentment and all that shit and projection on both sides of a difficult relationship, they're just not willing to look at themselves because that feels scary. Like if somebody's already saying, you're crazy, you're abusive, I hate you, you do this, you do that, you do that. And then you're over here trying to go like, yeah, sometimes I do act like a psycho. Like, or yeah, that period of time wasn't that amazing. You know what I mean? Like, So just to make a little bit of a context around that, like our lives ebb and flow and people go through stuff. A lot of what people who are toxic want to do is they want to put on an image and it's always perfect, right? And then you never see the behind the closed doors. Like I have chosen a tactic where I am okay with the messy and I'm just honest about it. Like when I went through postpartum depression, it was very hard for my children. Like it was hard. Like, I mean, and so simultaneously it was like a weird, it didn't have to be, but it was used as, oh, she's abusive, blah, 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 blah. Or she's, you know, mentally spiraling or she's bipolar or whatever. That's why you have to know the truth. That's where I go back to saying you have to know who governs you, right? Like, and is it that opinion or is it like the Lord God Almighty that is way more powerful than all those opinions, right? And that's not like spiritually bypassing. That's like seriously looking and going like, am I going to be okay here? You know, am I going to be spiritually protected? Because when stuff is seeming like it's against you on paper or in these systems, like, and that's why when I coach, you know, the women that I coach, it's like, I mean, I didn't study environmental medicine, but I'm feeling like I'm about to change my tactic to like environmental like medicine because it's like your environment is so important. Like you have to figure it out. Like you've got to figure out where you live, what it does, what it's like, how this realm operates, like what systems you're participating in, and be willing to exit them, right? It's like if you don't want stuff in your family, like good example too is when the whole COVID thing happened and all this, you know, the biggest thing, I know you heard this too, that a bunch of moms are worried about, or when somebody wants to make a big change in my practice, I'm often like, what about school? Like, what do you do for school? Right. And they're scared to put their kids in XYZ system. Well, as someone who has come with their kids through an incredibly Lutheran Christian insane system, a public school system, a private school system, we've been in so many different systems. I can tell you, my kids never adopted any weirdo agendas.
Because at home, that's the most important.
Yeah, because at home, I'm not participating in them, right? Like, I mean, my kids have friends in their classes who do adopt agendas. Why? Because they were 3 years old going to pride festivals. Like, I mean, and their parents like it. Like, okay, cool. Like, if your parents like it, you're going to like it. I'm not saying that, like, you can't go. I'm just saying, like, 100% that is dictated by your participation, right? So, and not everything. Like, yes, your kids will get exposed to stuff, but I'm talking about stuff that gets their hooks in your kids. Like, your kids probably know everything anyway. I know mine do. Like my children, I did not shelter my kids on purpose because I saw that it was a losing battle. Like, I'm like, they're going to see it all. I couldn't control 50% of their lives. Like we did, you know, when you don't have an amicable situation, the more you can stop controlling, the better, because you develop the like ability to parent in the difficult, which is like, I think what people are missing, or you develop the ability to like survive in the difficult. You know what I mean? Like
you also miss an opportunity, I think. And I was actually just talking to another client about this earlier, is like, we were talking about as girls come into like their own for their sexuality and like what they're addressing. I'm like, you almost rather them experiment and like get it wrong when they have you to come home to. They have you like, let me think this over. And like, if the dynamic at home is truth-based, the dynamic at home is open, not argumentative from the point of an attack, but it's like a conversation. It's like you're modeling all of that stuff. Then they have a home base to come to that's more secure, rather than being kind of all out on their own, trying to get it from people that aren't you.
I know I never saw this before, but Frankie was saying the other day that, because like I went to traditional college and loved it and did the whole thing, but then I'm like such a system breaker that I'm like, I was there for like a year, then did something else and went live by myself. Like I like to try it all out. I'm like, give me it all, just lay it all out there and we'll experience it all. I'm like, my life really is like my medicine playground. Like I'm truly operate like that. And I know everybody doesn't, but Frank was saying, I always found it so weird, and other countries find it weird, believe it or not, that we send our 17, 18-year-old kids to colleges basically to like drink and go crazy and like suddenly be out our homes, like doing it,
Yeah.
and encourage it, like encourage that, and then we wonder why there's so much like depravity. And that did like kind of hit, like, I'm like, not that like you can't send your kid to college, but like what colleges focus on or market. Like, so I somehow got
Mhm.
into like the sorority algorithm because I love watching all their like bid day dancing and stuff. And so I was like, Jane, watch this. And then he's like, why are you showing our 10-year-old like everybody in like sororities? Like, we don't need to be programming her to go to a sorority. I'm like, if she wants to go to a sorority, it's fine. But he's like, okay, well, what was your sorority really about? And I'm like, it wasn't like the movies, but it was a very interesting little time of like no rules, like just ungovernable, like, and suddenly you're not with parents. So you're just like, there was a lot of influence, you know what I mean? A
Mhm,
lot of
mhm,
different influences that I didn't have growing up. But I think we have more of that exposure now with technology for sure.
mhm.
But yeah, I don't know. Difficult people, the most important thing is just looking at like your own connection needs. You know what I
Mhm. Yeah.
like? I'm like, we will connect with toxic for attention or for to get a need met when like, and I think people
Yeah.
are afraid of resetting that need. Like
I
we
was
can,
literally, yeah. I mean, I was go finish your thought. I'm sorry, I didn't mean to.
no, go ahead. That's fine.
I was literally just saying, like, when you lock into this, be prepared because things get real quiet. And that's when you have time. Sometimes the things that arguing was doing for you is helping you avoid the things that are going to come up in the quiet.
Mm-hmm.
And now you get to sit with that. You get to have the peace of mind. You get to have the boundaries and the skills to parent yourself through that or to get your help through that. But it does get quiet. It gets quite quiet. And there can be almost a loneliness. So you can feel like, if you're still kind of linked in a little bit, you can feel like, oh, I miss that person. You start thinking about the good things about that person. If you're like not where you and I are at, but like if it's newer breakup, that's why people kind of like pull themselves back in. They get that peace, they get that quiet, and then they start to kind of almost crave it instead of leaning into the quiet and like seeing what that gives them.
Yeah, like being like kind of being like, where am I addicted to chaos? You mean?
Yes,
Yeah.
yes, exactly. I mean, and you have withdrawal symptoms, almost like something
Yeah.
along those lines that it's an adjustment period.
Yeah, it is. I mean, some people just like, I feel like the need to just, the need to self destruct. Like I see it in my practice all the time because I only do, mostly autoimmune stuff. I mean, everything's autoimmune that's in disease, but anywho, it's like, when you're not presenting in truth, like you're trying to find the truth. So what happens is that your body is also trying to find the truth. So your body will be like, here's a symptom, here's a symptom, here's a symptom, to try to like reset and get you to that truth, right? But we're just
Mhm.
not, none of us function in that space all the time. Like sometimes I'll have clients on the phone who they're like, you just don't care. Like you will say whatever now. I'm like, I will, because I know that like honesty is the best policy. Like, and I'm comfortable now in the space where the chips can fall where they may. Like
Mhm.
I'll never forget where, like, I mean, I've been married for 10 years, and in 2021, like it was pretty much, I mean, it was like, but my husband was kind of like, I'm out. And I was kind of like, all right, this is not going to make it. And that was like year 7. And I remember being like, wow, I'm going to have to get radically honest with myself and also be like, I've got to be okay if this doesn't make it. You know what I mean? Because
Yeah.
so much of me was connecting to like the fight for it. You know what I'm saying? Like the
Mhm.
fight for like, okay, the fight and the worth of it, and then, if you pile another difficult person on there, like then what that opinion was going to be or what that opinion was going to be. And it's like, okay, I think at some point you just have to, ultimately, if you want to heal, you have to find the most authentic version of yourself and then start presenting that. Like,
Mhm.
I mean, I tell my husband all the time, like, it's so funny. I think we all do this when we're first dating or when we're first doing something or we can make something work. Like, we can kind of chameleon a little bit. We can be like, okay, like I really like that, you know, like, oh yeah, like that's fine. Like that's fun. Like I first met my husband, like he was farming and he's like, quit your job and come live on the farm. And like, you know, let's do that whole thing. And I'm like, I realized like that season of rest was so beautiful. Like I'm so grateful for it. My kids have the best memories from that time. But that is so not me. Like I'm like, I don't want farm animals to take care of. Like, that's just not my jam. Like, I'm like, I don't want to live 10 minutes from a Target right now. Like, I'm like, my lifestyle is not about that. But what's interesting is like, I feel like if you're in a toxic relationship to begin with, there's a part of you that got you there that you didn't know who you were to begin with. Like, that's the thing. I look at that and I'm like, you know, it's real easy to step out and be like, oh, what attracted me to that person? But then you realize, like, how did I get into this? You know what I mean? Like who, like, how did I marry that? Or how did I, like, you know, whatever. And then you've got to reconcile that, right? You got to find who you are as a person. And a lot of people have totally lost themselves. Like, they don't even know what they like anymore. They don't know who they are. Like, it's so interesting. And then you hit the autoimmune. And I think there's like a mistake is like you and I both study, like, you're not breaking down. You're actually healing. Like, you're dropping all the versions of you that aren't all the things that don't serve you in the body. And that's like the autoimmune response. Right. But the word on the street out there is that you're attacking yourself and you hate yourself and all this stuff.
Body's confused.
Yeah. And like,
right thing.
Yeah. And you are in a sense tearing yourself down, but it's an uncovering. It's a rebirth. It's not a destruction. Like, I think that's such an interesting thing to start studying.
Yeah. Well, in some cases, it's like when your muscles break down when you're at the gym, they break down in order to rebuild bigger, stronger.
Yes.
And like, if you are perpetually breaking them down, they're not going to get the chance to rebuild bigger and stronger. And so when that mind shift changes, then we see ourselves, like, even internally, emotionally rebuilding bigger and stronger, just more. And by bigger, I mean, like, just more grounded. I mean, more, in the know of you and yourself. And like, at that point, it doesn't matter whether somebody agrees with you. It doesn't matter what they say about you. It doesn't matter, because you know yourself. And it doesn't matter if a lot of people agree to their lies, or if, and then you end up with a small circle of people who are willing to get to know the real you, or if a lot of people don't agree with those lies. It really doesn't matter in a lot of ways.
Yeah, it does. You can't let it, you can't care.
No, you can't.
I'm like, oh man, I think that's the biggest thing. People get so hung up in what people think about them and all this stuff. Like, ultimately, you just need to study. If someone wants to get out of a thing with a difficult partner too, or a difficult relationship, I think it's important that, you know, sometimes I think getting out of it, I don't know, you might find this in your practice, I'm curious, but it's like a Tylenol, right? Like, we just want it to stop. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, and a lot of times in my life, like, it wouldn't have actually served me to get out just yet. Like, you know, I've looked at that over my incredibly long 10 years of dealing with a narcissist and just parenting, parallel parenting, because there's no collaborative parenting. It's like it's been so long. You know what I mean? Like, it's been so long. And like, I think that's the scary part for some people is like, I'm finally like kind of seeing the light at the end of the tunnel. You know what I mean? Like, I'm like, I've got like maybe 2 or 3 years, and then it's like, I'm okay. You know what I'm saying? Like, once your kids get older, you're like, okay, like, freedom does happen. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
But it's interesting how, and it's like, even that, like, I've had freedom before that, because you have to create it for yourself. Like, but there's just new layers that unlock, you know what I mean? Like, and that's the thing is, I once had a naturopath tell me victimhood and narcissism are the same thing. And that's actually true. Like, basically I had to look at myself and go like, I want like everyone's story, right? Like, everyone's in this is important to me. Like, what it does for my kids, like what it does for them, like in their God journey, in their lives, and their future partners. And you can't just look at yourself, right? Like, oh no, it's really inconvenient for me right now. Like, how do I reconcile that? You know what I mean? So it's like, it's been so interesting to kind of just observe what that has looked like, and then pull myself and all, you know, a lot of other people at this point out of the victimhood of stuff. Because I think you do face some situations like, let's say you don't like where you live and you're where you live in a custody agreement. Like that's one big one. Like you can face that, and you have to actually be like, what is good about where I live? You know what I mean? Like,
Yeah. Yeah. And sometimes you can't see it when you're actually in the moment. Like it will take a while, but just the trust and that knowing that there is something good about this. Especially if there's like you're in a space, like a holding pattern that's not within your control. You can't move out of that space yet. You can't, there's like knowing that your posture of knowing that there is something good happening here. There's some purpose for this makes it a lot different. It makes it maybe not easier to handle, but
well, I think the
yeah,
powerful thing in like your offer and my offer and what we teach people is like, is more like to integrate it, right? Like it's more like not escapism, which is what's being pushed out there in the entirety of the holistic and the allopathic community, right? Like not all of them, but for the majority, everyone's wanting like an escape plan right now, you know, like that's why you're taking the supplement. That's why you're taking this. That's why you're taking that. Like
working on your gut health.
Yeah, like I'm not anti-supplements, but once I did like the reframe, like right now I'm taking a real amazing set of mineral powder. It's like, and I'm seeing how that works. But it's like I'm taking it now with a different posture. I'm taking it because I'm like, how can this enhance my experience in it? Like, how's this going to make me more aware? How's this going to improve my thoughts? Like, how's this going to transmute a pathway within me? Like, it's not like I'm getting out of something. You know what I mean? Like, I'm not getting out of it until God says so. And I think that's a very powerful place to be in when you, and that's somewhere where most of us got into these shitty situations to begin with a toxic person or a hard person, because we were overriding all those signals. Like if we're really honest with ourselves, like we were overriding either God's plan or our intuition or whatever. Like it's like once you realize that it stops with you, like you're the person that did it, you're like, oh, great.
Yeah, but it's really powerful to see that. Like, you know, you're the common denominator. That means that you're the only one that you have to change, which is really the only one that you can change, which kind of ties all the way back to our original idea about arguing, like knowing when to argue, when not to argue, especially if you can't change that person, not needing to change because you know your own truth, but also not needing to change somebody else's opinion or the way they act or the way they make an ass of themselves or whatever. You don't need to be in control of it. Like,
no. Heck no. And like, I thought about that the other day. I said something to my ex, like recently I've been more brazen because I've been in a different place. But I said something to him, like, I normally wouldn't, like, let's just say if you don't want to get into a conversation, you don't start one, right? Like, I mean, I'm in a strong place now to where I'm like, if I start one and he says something back, I can put my phone down. I don't give a fuck what he says. But that's not a place that everybody's in when they're in a vulnerable spot. But like the other day, I just like said to him, and I realized something about myself too. Like, I don't play the victim to, you know, my kids. And we've done podcasts before on motherhood and victimhood and all this stuff. And I said to him, like, for God's sake, like, you are not a victim. Like, you decided to create 2 children as well too. Like, maybe drop that victim story and like have a good day. Like, that's literally what I said. You can't be like, can we talk about this? Can we talk? Like, you can't do anything open-ended. So if you're trying to exit something that is not serving you and actually let like Holy Spirit between it, you got to be okay with the stop, right? You got to be okay with not getting the last word in or not doing this.
Yeah.
Just going like, all right. I say that to my kids all the time. I'm like, someone has to stop this dumbass argument. Okay.
Yeah.
Like,
yes,
like,
I've said this to my kids too.
Stop. Like,
yeah,
I literally told him this morning, I was like, you know, if your brother says that and you don't respond back, like, it's over. I'm like, y'all are so dumb and y'all fought for 17 minutes. And I literally told all my kids, I'm like, if y'all ever fight for 17 minutes again on a My Tuesday morning, like you're never having screens again or anything. You'll just be sitting in your rooms. Like
here's the interesting thing also about just not saying anything, like especially if that other person has said something real rude, real attacking, real whatever. You don't overlay it with your other thing. And if it happens to be a person that really does care about you and like you're just having a tough sticky moment and he just called you a bitch and you don't say anything or says something worse, all he has there to chew on is like what I just said. And with a good, relatively healthy person, it doesn't take a lot of chewing on that to be like, oh my God, I can't believe that's the last thing I said to you. I can't believe, like they go through their own natural shame progression, and like then you can come to a healing like resolution faster sometimes when you don't argue in those moments than when you do layer your own insults on top of it or your own arguments and their thing gets buried. Although I will say, like, extremely difficult to do, extremely difficult, but a really good tactic for like not using their words against them, but because everybody's responsible for them, but just kind of letting their trusting their natural progression.
Yeah, it's just a good way to also like process what you think. Like if you're just always in that state of like, I need to speak and I need to defend myself in this, you're not leaving any space for processing, right? Like I've noticed that about the more that I create that space for processing, the easier everything gets. Like it doesn't mean processing like being depressed. It's like just, taking something on board, deciding what I think about it, letting it go. You know what I mean?
I love that. Mm-hmm.
Yeah, it's like take it on board, decide what to do with it. You know what I mean? Because the body, everyone wants to talk about cortisol, stress, hypervigilance. Like I get into it myself. And the majority of time is like when you get into it, you're not processing properly. Like that's the thing. You're not even carving space or time to process. Like, and processing can be like, you really have to define what that needs to be, like, which I'm gonna have to wrap this up in a little bit and go get my little one. My sitter just texted me, but you really need to like wrap that up and define what that looks like for you, right? Like yesterday, I told Jane, I'm like, okay, I'm gonna go to the bathroom and do a coffee enema and have a shower and a full bath and watch The Crown, and you're gonna watch Your Two Boys. Like I'm like, I didn't necessarily want to do a coffee enema and like get into my depths of emotions. I'm like, I just want to be like, I want 2 hours away from you guys because we just traveled for 3 days in LA and it was full on.
Yeah.
Like I'm like, I just want like some by myself time and a decent shower,
Yes.
Where I don't think I showered the whole time in LA because between like a time zone change and the baby and all this stuff was like,
oh my gosh. Well, no, that's actually probably a really, really, really good tidbit is to have a processing routine. Big fight, small fight. I mean, you know that I love my Sunday night self-care. I talk about it all the time.
Yeah.
And it makes such a huge difference. And I find sometimes I do want to avoid the processing, but sometimes just sitting there with the reality of whatever is going on. And then it actually is online and available to me when something happens, not on a Sunday, like they don't need to process on a Sunday. Maybe a big fight happened on a Monday. And I have those, I know what helps me feel better. I know kind of the process. My body is familiar with it. So I can go through that and take care of myself in those kinds of moments when I'm, even if it's not because you had an argument, maybe it's just like, hey, I am trying something out new. I'm not arguing. And like your body needs to be soothed during that time. So like find that time to self-soothe. I have a funny little thing that I've been sharing with some of my people, talking about what said person is not doing while they're arguing with you. Like while they're all the ways that thlike not living life because they're spending this time trying to argue with you, and like, just be mindful that you don't become that person. It's kind of fun to make that list though. Like, like this person is not working. This person's not reading the Bible. This person's not having sex with their wife. This person's not playing with their kids. This person's not like, and then you start to kind of see like how, you almost start to feel compassion for him. Like, wow, this person is avoiding or missing out on all of this because they're trying to have this argument. and to take it as like, I don't have to miss out on all of this too. I'm going to go find one of those things from this list to do that I'll enjoy.
Yeah, literally, for real. I mean, I just think in my mind, like, life is too short to like constantly be arguing now. And honestly, I used to like live for stress.
Well, yeah, the addiction to stress. Me too. I had an addiction to stress.
But like, I mean, you know, it doesn't present itself as you think it does. Like for me, it was like a really super hyper busy calendar and like a bunch of stuff that was like not necessary. And then I'm like, why do I even want this to be the center focus with all my friends? Like, why do I just want to complain to my friends about how busy we are? Like, that makes no sense to me. Like, can't we come up with something better? Like, what if we all didn't play traveling soccer and we just went to fucking dinner? Like, I'm just like, at some point, my mind changed about stress. It was like, okay, like, I clearly seek out like a packed out insanity place. You know what I mean? And I mean, as a result, and I've been unpacking that for like 5 or 6 years, like my body has done several cyclical resets. Like when I first got out of that, it was like instantly dropped like 40 pounds. It was like hyperthyroidism and it was like stressed out. And then swung the other way back now to like, okay, where's our like set point or whatever? What are we trying to figure out? And so it is really interesting how you see it in the body. We're probably going to have to do a part 2 because I have to run and get my babies. I want to do a part 2 on like expand more on that routine and the tactics on how you get there and more excuses, because I always find it interesting that, you know, you'll carve that routine and you're a single mom, like, but you do it no matter what when you have your kids. Like, it's like, I do stuff non-negotiable, right? No matter what. I don't care if my husband wants to do it or not do it. Like, it's like, you get to have that no matter what. Like at some point I want to talk about that too. We should do like a follow-up on, you know, Thursday or Friday and record, but because it's like, I think people will be like, it's just, what I'm coming across a lot in my practice right now is like, I want to, but right. And it's like, what's the but? Like I tell people all the time, I'm like, what's the but? I just told my daughter that. My daughter's like, I want to, but you don't understand. I'm like, I mean, for me, it's cut and dry. If you want to, try it out. It might work, it might not, right? But so many people put the pressure on people, like, and I think that stems from, you know, your real toxic people. If that but is there because they're going to cut the love, whatever that love looks like, right? So I'm getting ready to have that conversation and kind of dealing with this with my kids. It's like, you know, love isn't material things. Like, you know what I mean? Like, that's not love. Like, that's not loving. I mean, it's kind and it's nice and it's provision and like, we love that, right? But there's a difference in like unconditional love and just like in boundaries and then like yanking someone's chain, right? And so a lot of us get stuck in patterns because we have this perpetual excuse, right? Or we do something and it's an excuse. But I think as someone that just doesn't have that excuse anymore, I challenged myself for a whole year not to say but at all. And I very rarely say no. Very rarely. Like, I mean, if something is going to like hurt one of my children or put somebody in danger, like that's different. Like, but I'm kind of like a yes person at the moment. And I used to be so into the no's, like so into it. And you don't realize how much you are. You don't realize how comfy you're getting, right? It'd be like, no, we can't do that. Like, no, we can't go to the park because there might be strangers. Like, no, we can't go to this.
Oh, yeah. I mean, that comes back to the thread of control, you know, like it just interweaves with so
exhausting.
It's so exhausting. Yes.
Like, I'm like, it exhausted me. And that's the one thing that I think a lot of the women in my practice find real freedom in. It's like, no, we can't have red dyes. Why? Okay. Like now it's like, all right, I'm not saying we say a perpetual yes. Now, you know, you bring in the roundedness of like, okay, well, how do we love ourselves and say yes to the right things? But some of us are in like such a pattern of an instant no, we're not even trying, you know?
Yeah.
And that's like, honestly, toxic people, that's what they do. Like they've literally just developed a security blanket of protection. It's so wild. And you're not going to change it or take it off of them. They're like, it's mine. It's like, okay.
Yes. So there's no use arguing with it or arguing with their self-value, arguing with like,
no,
you know, just being very very protective of your own time and energy. And well, I can't remember if we were recording yet or not, but like I've been working with the idea of a person has to earn the right to argue with me. Like if it's Joe Blow on the street, if it's somebody who's just like not anybody that I respect or care about, I'm just going to let them think whatever dumbass thing that they want to think about me or about themselves or about the world, whatever.
Yeah.
If I actually respect them, I will have a respectful argument. Like if I actually, or am looking to learn and am myself open, that is when I might like dip into an argument. And at that point, the argument is just like, here's one point of view, here's another point of view. We're sharing different point of views. Not that it's like a aggressive, assertive thing. It's just like a totally different conversation.
Yeah, for real. And I mean, it's the most loving thing to do, like just to exit. Like,
yeah.
I love a good debate, but if I'm either in over my head in one and don't know all the facts or whatever, or I'm going to be like, it's just going to waste my energy on something dumb, like I'm like, waste of time.
Mm-hmm.
Like I just told a mom the other day, I think of myself as an attorney. Like I'm like, my hours in the day are freaking precious. Like they're worth it. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
Like what you were saying. Like I'm like, I told her, we were sitting at a dance thing and I'm like, girl, you got to bill yourself like an attorney. Like, I don't care. You have one conversation with somebody about interior design, they better be paying you. Like, that's her skill set, you know? And she's like, I just, why can't I charge people for myself? I'm like, self-worth. Like,
you can. Why are you saying you can't?
Right? I'm like, I mean, and when I say that, like, I'm radical about it. Like, it took my ex money to get me in a courtroom to fucking talk to me. Like, I'm not like I'm an attorney. Like I'm like, you actually have to pay for my time, energy, harvest, all of it. Like you know what I mean? Like it's like when you break it down like that in your mind and you're that convicted of yourself, it's like, okay, cool. And I think that's one of the gifts that I have to offer, but whatever. So
yeah, I think that's a really good wrap up. Like treat your time like an attorney. Like if they want to talk to, exactly. Like it's
and you don't have to force that. That shit just naturally happens. Like if you make yourself unavailable for BS, like it won't. It will be around you, but it won't take you down. You know what I mean? Like I almost said it won't find you, but it just won't. It can't. Like it'll have to try really, really hard to make an influence in your life. You know?
Yeah.
Yeah, I mean, that's like, I was just, yes. Okay. We'll wrap up there and do a part 2 because I got to get my kiddos and I want to do a part 2 on our other topic about difficult people. But yeah, you guys need to work with Maura. She's got an amazing offer. Both do I don't know if you have bioresonance in the Vibrant Way at the moment.
I do because it resets the nervous system. Like people go from taking 5 weeks to have like notice big changes to having a big change in 1 week or 2 weeks. And like, they just feel better and they're more open to all the other things that we're doing. So makes it just so much more impactful.
Yeah. I mean, that's the thing is like, you know, our stuff's radically different. You're not taking pills, protocols, all that stuff. You're just, you know, you're opening a pathway for the body and brain to do the work. So I think it's really important, but all right, I'll end it. And then we'll jump on like Thursday or Friday and do a part 2.
Perfect. Sounds good. See ya.
Bye.